Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing great, and I'm sure anybody who was excited for Silent Hill F is also doing great. Because, granted, I know nothing about Silent Hill, never been into the games, but from what I understand, F is absolutely amazing. And that's great to hear, especially in a day and age where sequels to games are often either butchered or just underwhelming. It's great to see that people love Silent Hill F so much. However, like with Silent Hill 2, there is a very noticeable issue with the game, that being the PlayStation 5 Pro version of the game. Now, there's a whole bunch of context I gotta give before we get into anything, because trying to figure out the actual resolution that this game runs at was very confusing. Because one outlet did a test and they determined that the base PS5 version of the game ran at 720p and was upscaled to 4K in quality mode, and then it was upscaled from 360p in performance mode, and then on the PS5 Pro it was upscaled from 720p as well. But then Digital Foundry came in and did their tests, and they determined that the game was actually running at 1080p internally on the performance mode for the PS5 and the PS5 Pro, and then 1440p internally for quality mode on the PS5. But they also put the asterisk that the game is very hard to pixel count because you can't turn motion blur off. So the exact pixel counting and the exact resolution still isn't fully understood, although I will say I trust Digital Foundry more. But regardless of what resolution people think the game is running at, there is the general consensus that the PS5 Pro has the worst version of this game, because not only is it rendering the game internally at the PS5 performance mode resolution, so it's already lower resolution than the PS5 quality mode, but this game, just like Silent Hill 2 Remake, has insane issues with PSSR. I would strongly recommend watching the Digital Foundry video on this game, but basically the SparkNotes breakdown is PSSR causes massive issues, especially when it comes to fog and grass, where stuff literally just flickers in front of you. And that's on top of, again, the fact that it's a lower resolution than the PS5 quality mode. So basically you're getting about the same resolution as the PS5 performance mode, but with added flickering because of PSSR. Oh, and that's not to mention, there's no quality mode option, so if you want to get rid of the flickering and play at a much higher resolution, you just can't do that. On the base PS5, you get the option for quality and performance mode, and on the PS5 Pro, you only get the one mode, which ironically enough is called enhanced when, as I just described, it's worse than the base PS5 modes. And Nick Tech, who's actually been appearing more and more on this channel recently, quote tweeted the people who said the game was running at 720p internally and said, Unreal Engine 5 that doesn't stutter, running at 360 to 720p. We're back at PS3 era gaming. And ignoring the replies that are saying like, hey man, don't compare this era to PS3 because at least PS3 games were good, there were quite a few replies with people trying to defend this, because of course there were. Now, I'd just like you all to keep in mind that even if the game isn't actually running at 360p internally, even if it is being upscaled from 1080, the people in these replies are under the impression that the game is upscaling from 360 to 720p, and that is what they are defending. Just keep that in mind. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at some people defending the very bad PS5 Pro port of this game. So first up, and this is probably the most reluctant I've ever been to put a reply in a video, but we've got Astro. I'm sorry, dude. Not calling him a fanboy, by the way. I just thought this take wasn't the best. He just said frame rate over resolution, and then Nick replied with same energy. But sir, the quality! Just do it! Nah, but I'm with Nick on this one, man. Frame rate over resolution, absolutely. But eventually, there has to be a cutoff. I don't care how good my frame rate is if the game visually looks like I smeared Vaseline all over the screen. I mean, if that's the only way that they can hit a solid 60 FPS because it is Unreal Engine 5, then I guess. But on the PS5 Pro, there needs to be the option for a higher resolution mode. And it doesn't even have to be a 30 FPS mode, it could be 40. Whatever happened to 40 FPS modes? Those are pretty good. They're a nice little in-between between of the 30 FPS and 60 FPS modes. And the fact that the PS5 Pro, you know, the ultimate quote-unquote premium product for the most dedicated PlayStation gamers that costs $750, doesn't even have a resolution mode option is insane. This is why these mid-gen refreshes are such a scam. It's not like buying a better GPU for your PC and you know games are gonna perform better and run at higher resolutions and whatnot. With Pro models of consoles, you're just buying it and are just hoping and praying that third-party studios will take advantage of it, and that when they do take advantage of it, the port won't somehow be worse than the base console version. Anyway, let's continue on. Here's your native PS3 game versus this tech you like to constantly trash. Even some of the best from PS3, Metal Gear Solid 4, look like blurred crap next to this. Why are you such a grifter? Okay, dude, I'm gonna keep it an absolute stack. The resolutions in both games look bad. Is the PS5 Pro version better? Yes! Of course, it better be better if it's starting from what the PS3 was using as its normal resolution and then upscaling from there. It better be better. But I'm gonna be honest, resolution-wise, it doesn't look a whole lot better. Obviously, graphically, the game is far better, but resolution-wise, not so much. It shouldn't even be possible to make these comparisons. 720p should not even be in the conversation in 2025. It should be a relic of the past. It belongs in a museum. Instead, it's making its grand return like Dio. You thought he was dead? No, he was just hibernating for 100 years. Now he's back and ready to drag gaming down with him once again. And oh, by the way, just because the game is using an upscaler to make it look better does not excuse a bad internal resolution. Hardware should not be sold on the promise of what AI can do with it to make stuff artificially look better. It should actually be an improvement. Not, hey, here, you have to spend $700 extra to get this AI technology that might get supported, and if it does, it might end up looking good. It's like what Nvidia's trying to do now with all the fake frames and stuff. Oh, look at this, our cards can run Cyberpunk at 300 FPS. Ignore the fact that 75% of those frames are fake and they're causing extra input lag. I am so sick of this AI crap in hardware. It should be there as an option, not a necessity. And hardware sure as hell shouldn't be sold on the promise of AI. Oh my god. Alright, anyway, let's continue. This guy replied, "That's why it's called performance mode, dog." And then Nick replied, "Lamau, for a 4K console, 360p shouldn't even be in this conversation, even in performance mode." Exactly. Like, okay, it's called performance mode. So, does that justify the resolution being crap? I'm just gonna say it again for the people who didn't hear it before. I know the game isn't actually running at 360p, at least according to Digital Foundry it's not. But this guy thinks it is, and he's still defending it. I understand that in a performance mode, the resolution is going to be lowered. Duh. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. But you're gonna defend the idea that the resolution could drop that low to literally PS2 level resolutions. You know what we need? I just had this idea. You know how Steam has that policy now where you have to specify if your game uses AI? You have to say, yes, this game uses AI, and then this is the ways that it uses it. We need something like that for resolutions on consoles. Like, hey, this is what the game's resolution is running at, and if it's using an upscaler, this is what it's doing, and this is what resolution it's going to with the upscaler. The fact that these consoles have 4K, 120, and 8K on the box is absolutely ridiculous to me. Alrighty, what do we have next? Resolution doesn't necessarily equal visual quality. The idea that you run more advanced processes on a lower resolution image, then upscale, and the result is virtually indistinguishable and required less processing power overall. Hardware has moved to a different paradigm than many gamers understand. At least that's what the manufacturers are telling us. This tweet genuinely upsets me because this guy is saying stuff this stupid and he has a dark helmet profile picture. picture. How dare you tarnish the name of Spaceballs? My personal favorite movie of all time, by the way. Can't wait for Spaceballs 2. I don't think Mel Brooks is gonna live to see it release in theaters, but as long as they get through filming with him, I think it'll be okay. But, dude, resolution doesn't necessarily equal visual quality. My brother in Christ, resolution is visual quality. And guess what? It's not virtually indistinguishable. If you upscale from 1440 to 4K, then maybe it's indistinguishable. But going from 1080 to 4K is absolutely distinguishable. Hell, even going from 1080 to 1440, you can notice differences. I would know. I've tried it before. It's part of the reason I hate using AI upscalers. Even using DLSS to go from 1080 to 1440 looks noticeably worse. Can we stop acting like these resolution upscalers are infallible and they look identical to the native resolution? Because they really don't. I am still yet to see a resolution upscaler that looks identical to native resolutions. And I doubt we ever will. And if we do see it, it's sure as hell not going to be on the PS5 Pro. Alrighty, next up. This one comes from Nintendo God, so you know this is going to be good. Why are clowns overly obsessing about internal/native resolution? PS5 upscaling looks virtually identical to native resolution. With Nintendo Switch 2's superior tech, DLSS often looks better than native resolution. The gamer loses nothing. What's displayed to you only matters. So let me get this straight. DLSS on the Nintendo Switch 2 looks better than the native resolution. Even for a guy named Nintendo God, this is stupid. And dude, are you actually trying to say that 720p upscaled or 1080p upscaled to 4K looks identical to native 4K? You might need to go see an eye doctor if you think that. But in reality, do you want to know why you think that? It's because these games don't give you the option to see how they look at their native resolutions. So you're just coping and assuming that the game looks equally as good as the native resolution. I'm here to tell you it doesn't. And the fact that he says the gamer loses nothing when quite literally if you're playing on the PS5 Pro you are losing resolution and getting more flickering effects is absolutely hilarious. But yeah, there you go guys. Apparently upscaled resolutions look identical to native. That is if you're not looking at the screen and have both your eyes closed. Alrighty, let's take a look at one more. You do realize that PC gamers also use a lower resolution upscaling methods to get higher FPS, right? What do you think DLSS, FSR, and PSSR actually do? Well, here's the thing. As a PC gamer, I do not use upscaling. Upscaling is a last resort for if you can't run the game at a native resolution well, hence why the PS5 Pro has it, and why it's sold on the idea of AI upscaling. I personally run all of my games natively, because upscaling looks like crap compared to native resolutions, and guess what? If I want the better frame rate, I'd rather turn graphics settings down than resolution down. Like, does this guy think that PC gamers are forced to use upscaling for games? You do know that's one of the beautiful things about PC, right? Is that we have the option to do that. It's not like the PS5 Pro where you buy the game, it can only run in one specific way, and you better hope that it looks good. That's the thing, like, if you're not gonna properly optimize your games anymore, you're just gonna crutch on upscaling and whatnot, just give people on console the option to toggle things like upscaling and different graphics settings and whatnot. The quote-unquote pro version of a console should not give you a more limited experience than the base version, and yet that's what's been happening. I don't know about everybody else, but when I called the PS5 Pro a scam last year, I didn't want to be right. I don't want these devices to be bad, I just call it like I see it, and I've only been proven more and more right as time has gone on. But yeah guys, with all that being said, that is all I've got for this video. Apologies for not uploading in almost a week. There hasn't been much to talk about, and also I have been extremely busy with school. This is the first time I've ever had to do work as a history major. Do I have any business majors in the comments? Maybe we can debate on who does less work. But that aside, Battlefield 6 is coming out in just a couple weeks, and I'm sure that on top of just being an extremely fun game, it will bring tons of content along with it, so I cannot wait. So yeah guys, with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more. Join us every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on the gaming channel for gaming streams, and become a member if you want Discord access and awesome emotes, and I will catch you all next time.